Good morning, friends. I'm answering a question from a young friend today. Not completely. So she wanted to know what's up with the different spiritualities of the church. You can see I wear my towel, which is a symbol of being a secular Franciscan. And she's like, well, what are the secular? Are there secular Dominicans? Are there secular Benedictines? Most others call themselves part of the third order. Now, Franciscans are a little more complicated, so maybe I can get into that later, why we call ourselves secular. But we are part of the third order of St. Francis. So does that mean we're not Catholic? Does that mean we're not Christian? We follow Francis only? No. When you're part of a third order, or any of the orders really, you're following Jesus in the style of your founder. So if you're going to look at people's spirituality, the first things you're going to want to do is look at the founder. And you want to look from a reputable source. So what's a reputable source? Well, for us Franciscans, it's going to be the Franciscan documents. This is actually a 3-volume set. And then there's a book on Clare as well. This is Francis of Assisi, the first volume, the Saint, the early documents. So it's what documents still exist, right? Because he actually was a real man. He lived in the 1200s. We have the documents. Of course, they're translated. They're fragments. People are like, did he really write it or not? But that is all addressed in this. So if you want to know what's a Franciscan spirituality, get out there and read these. You may want to borrow it from a friend since it's 3 volumes and each one is like 1.5 inches, right? Another good way, if you're not quite ready to do that, you're like, whoa, that's a lot. Alarms. What is a good one to try is St. Francis of Assisi by G.K. Chesterton. It's a fairly good book. He tells you right up front, and I do believe it's available from Audible and some other audiobook formats. He's telling you this is not going to be a romantic, oh, when St. Francis kissed the animals story. St. Francis saw God in the animals. He saw the hand of God, the creator, in the animals. It's not an animist version, right? He's not thinking there's a piece of God in every animal. That's not what he's saying. He's not an animist view. It's not a romantic, he loves every puppy in the world. Maybe he did. This is not that romantic book. This is a true look at St. Francis here. He looks at his spirituality and what he did. Now, if you want something a little more romantic, but a little more modern, Boedo is your go-to Franciscan. Because, I don't know that he's romantic, but his style of writing is just lyrical. That's the best way to describe Boedo. And he does have books of poems, and so that gives you a view. But it doesn't mean that it's not good. It is. He just writes really lyrically. So if you're a person who has a hard time reading the documents and the biographies, more nonfiction stuff, even though this is, I think it's classified as nonfiction, Boedo is a friar, and he just writes lyrically, so it's a nice, relaxing read. So you may want to start with that, but these would be the 3 things I would say to start with if you want to know who Franciscans are. You can also go ahead and, if you want to know more about secular Franciscans, our rule is out there. I'm going to try and put some of this stuff in the links at the end. We have a little red book. I didn't grab that. I have them like all over the house, just like I have catechisms all over the house. So we have a little rule book because we have a rule. It's not a secret society at all. You can read our rule book at any time. Ask me to read it. I normally have it on me. If you want to look at one, I can just hand you one. I can grab another one. They're like $2 maybe. It's not a big deal. I can give you the rule book. And the rule book is basically telling us to live the gospel life. It's telling us to live the gospel. And St. Francis, if you're going to read these books, you're going to find out St. Francis took the gospel pretty literally. Not everybody wants to be that literal. So Franciscans are known for things. We are known, of course, for love of animals, right? And if you know me, I've worked at the Nature Center and stuff. I have a kind of a zoo going on inside. I do have a pet cockroach, and I have a dog right now. We've also had bunnies, we've had fish, we've had frogs. Gosh, we've had so many different animals. We had rats for a while. I do love animals, and not in the way that I'm sappy about every animal. I'm not, like, I don't get out and pet the cockroach. I love looking at him. He's very interesting. There was originally 2. I got them to teach a class, and I offer them safe harbor here, but I don't get him out and play with him and put him in my hand. Like, I don't do things with him. He's a cockroach. I let him be a cockroach, and I love him for his little antennas that he waves at me, and sometimes he'll come and sit next to me. By that I mean he sits in his cage, which is sitting next to the couch I'm sitting on. Not romantic, but I see how the Creator made him, and he is wonderfully made. Absolutely. So I love him for how he was made. So yeah, that appealed to me. Franciscans are known for their poverty. And you're like, Miss Deanna, I see you out here at the Chick-fil-A. You're not exactly poor. Francis took that very literally, right? He rejected everything to the point where he even stripped off his clothes and walked away naked, and the bishop had to put his robe around him. So Francis took it very literally. Not every Franciscan order takes it quite the same way. In secular Franciscans, it's poverty of spirit, so that if I lost things, I'm not going to die. Like, it's okay. If you ask me, if this is my favorite book on St. Francis, but you ask me to borrow it, genuinely, I will give it to you. I feel like if I need another one, I can go to the library, I'll find it. Like, I'm not, no, this is the one, this is mine. I'm not like that anymore. I did used to be like that a lot, right, friends? I was like, no, you give it back to me. Yeah, I'm trying to grow in that area. That is a hard area to grow in, but I am definitely trying to grow in that area. Franciscans are known for their love of the Incarnation. The Vatican has not ruled either way on this, so we are welcome to believe that the Incarnation would have happened anyway, whether man rejected God's rules or not, because God loves us so much. He was going to come to us at some point anyway. The Incarnation was going to happen just out of joy and love of our God. And I believe I did. Okay. And so, let's see, another one. Franciscans are known for their love of cookies. I mean, that may be true. Francis, even on his deathbed, did ask Lady Jacoba to bring him his honey almond cakes, his favorite cake that she made. And it was the one treat he would allow himself. The one little thing. So maybe indulging in cookies every now and then is not the worst thing. But it may not be the most Franciscan. I don't know that we're known for that. I was just trying to slip that one in there on you. Now, you think about Dominicans, and you think about their theology, and that they're very learned, right? Do we have Franciscans who are very learned? Oh, yeah. You can look at like St. Bonaventure. We've got lots of great saints as well as more contemporaries. Father Peter Damian Fellner has just passed away, and you can look up his work. You can even see a symposium on him on YouTube. You can look that up. We still have Father Angelo Geiger. His spiritual son is still studying St. Bonaventure and teaching. So we're very blessed to have him. You can look up. There's lots of great insights from Franciscans. They often record them and put them on YouTube, so feel free to look that up. You can also go to the Secular Franciscans website, and people give testimonies of why they became a secular Franciscan. Right. Secular Franciscans are very known for their care of the poor. That is probably one of the most well-known things about Franciscans, and I kind of skipped that one. The love of the poor and the sick, and trying to go out and help them all the time. And if you know me, I'll let you address that. I do believe I've always tried that. I joke about it. Being a secular Franciscan makes my childhood love of hobos make sense. I did used to put out make up little toiletry kits and put them under the bridge where I knew hobos were riding the rails and sleeping at night. So that's a tiny bit about me. I'm not going to go on about me forever. Something that I did when I was discerning secular Franciscans, because I didn't even know they existed, right? I didn't know they existed. So I'll stop for a second. I didn't know they existed. So St. Francis, he was doing something he needed to do, his own personal radical conversion. And then a group of men gathered around him, and they became the friars, which are the first order, the friars. Franciscans originally were not going to be priests. Francis himself was never a priest. They forced deaconhood on him, but he was never a priest. Did they allow priests in the order? That came into it more, absolutely. So then the second order was when St. Clare came and begged to be in the order, he started the second order. He had an opportunity for that earlier with Lady Jacoba, who begged to be one. They made her an honorary friar because she was doing such good work in her life already. They believed that she was where she needed to be. So we have St. Francis and the friars, and we have St. Clare and the sisters. And then groups of married people came, and they kind of said to St. Francis, like, no, we want to live this life, but we're already married. What do we do? And they set up a camp, and they became the secular Franciscans. So they were the original third order. If you're counting, though, you're like, but there's other third orders. Like, what's a third order regular? And this is why we don't call ourselves third order. Because some of the third order brothers and sisters eventually did decide to become nuns and friars. And so their third order regulars are like Sisters of St. Francis of the third order. So they follow a different rule. They follow the third order rule. They don't follow the same rule as the first order friars or the second order St. Clare's. They have a different rule. Again, go out, look at their rules. They're all available. We're not secret societies at all. And you can attend a meeting at any time. I'm going to try and put a link where you can find a meeting. Now, if you're not quite ready to go to a meeting, because meetings are going to be at a fraternity, a local fraternity. And every fraternity has a tiny little different flavor. Sometimes it's big. We have Korean-speaking fraternities. We have a fraternity where ASL is the main language. We have one where Spanish is the main language. So there's going to be a variety of flavors because of who's in them, right? So even if you feel that you're Franciscan, you might not be called to be a part of a particular fraternity. Fraternity is, you can very rarely switch. You're only allowed 1 or 2 changes in your lifetime. Okay, so you better love that fraternity and you better be a good fit for that fraternity. So you need to find one where you fit and you belong and you are helping others in that fraternity come to Christ, because that's the whole point of it, right? We're helping each other and supporting each other in the Franciscan way of living. So we need people who can be together as a community. So you may be called to be a Franciscan. You may be called to be a third order Franciscan. You may not be called to belong to any fraternity. There is one for you. This is a book I used when I was just kind of visiting at a meeting and trying to discern what to do. It is called the Franciscan Prayer Journal. It's exactly as it says. It takes the text from books Praying with Clare and Praying with St. Francis, and it gives you little reflections and questions. You can see I'm very me. Even though I have 2 copies of the book, I don't think I wrote in the book. I write in a secondary notebook that was even originally something else, and I scratched it out. So I'm filling in the back, and you go through. So it might give you a small reflection on a reading from Francis or Clare, and then you relate it to your life. They explain how it was for Francis and Clare, why they did what they did. There's a prayer at the end when you get to the end of the chapter. I might not be describing this book the best way, but honestly, it's available in a lot of Catholic bookstores, especially if it's a Franciscan bookstore, like at the Shrine of St. Anthony, or you can go to I think it's friarshop.com or .org. I'm going to try and look for those links for you to put them in the end. Their Companions of St. Anthony have a friar shop, and I believe this is available there as well. $25, is it worth the investment? 100%. If you're getting serious, this may be the way to go. And then if you can find a meeting, visit it. If you can't find a meeting, if there's not a fraternity near you, I would totally recommend this to get you started. That's about it. So I can really only myself personally speak about the secular Franciscans. And disclaimer, I'm only a candidate, so I'm growing in my formation. If I've made any errors, they are my own. So I would encourage you to get out and speak to someone who has already professed and been in a while. And I'm going to give you all those resources at the end. And I will start looking and encouraging some of my friends that are from other third orders or associates of orders that I can bring them on, question them, and find out more about their order. So this was about the secular Franciscans. And I hope I explained a little bit to you about what's different. So what's different about the different orders is their founders. If you want to know more about that order, go look up their founders. Again, you can look at the lyrical versions. You can look at the celebrated nonfiction versions. You can go a little more hardcore, right? Look at their own words. Get to know who that saint was. Okay, friends, if you have any comments or show ideas, put them below. We're running out of time. Love you. Praying for you all. Pray for me. Like, share, subscribe. Ring the bell. Bye.